Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey, you guys!
Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Season 1, Episode 7 breakdown of the Rabbits podcast entitled Arcadia. I hope everyone's been enjoying it so far. I appreciate all the people that watch the videos, leave likes, subscribe, and everything that goes with that. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. And without further ado, let's get into it.
How many steps to the lighthouse? I did a little research when I got back to my room. 31 steps up to the Five-Finger Lighthouse and 20 to the light at Sentinel Island. I wrote the numbers down in my journal.
Numbers. That is something of a necessary thing in this game.
For some reason, Yumiko wanted to know how many steps to the lighthouse. If uncovering the number of steps up to some lighthouse is going to bring me closer to finding Yumiko, well then, I need to know the answer to that question.
Probably also need to know which lighthouse they're talking about.
We weren't able to find anything related to the company behind that spool of thread, at least nothing that appeared connected to rabbits, but Jones told me there was definitely something here. He was convinced that the spool of thread had been there for a reason. On the way back to Seattle, he popped a pen through the top of the spool and discovered something hidden inside. It was a tiny bit of celluloid.
Yep. You got to look at everything without being paranoid about it.
Looked kind of like a piece of old Super 8 film. Jones said he thought it was microfiche. Very tiny and very old microfiche.
See, I don't know. All the microfiche that I ever interacted with or had to use or wanted to use were square sheets. Probably a little bit bigger than a 3x5 card. But I've also done I forgot what it's called. It wasn't microfiche, but you had a ribbon, kind of like a string of negatives, and you turned it and it scrolled through it. So, and those were about 35 millimeters. So, I don't know if that's just a form of microfiche that I don't know about, that I haven't encountered, or if it's something that's plot convenience. I don't know.
Jones was right. It was some kind of Cold War era microfiche. Back in Seattle, we had it scanned and blown up. It was a photograph of a petroleum production plant. There was a name visible on one of the buildings: Gazprom Neft. It was an oil facility in northern Russia, built sometime within the past 7 years. So, now, the big question. How did a photo of a modern plant in northern Russia end up on a tiny bit of microfiche from World War II, discovered stashed in the glove box of an old Pinto station wagon?
I think that's one of the things that intrigues me about this podcast is the way they do the time dilations or time jumps or impossible things. I don't know. it's and it's those impossibilities, those nuances that intrigue me, that are kind of cool. And some of them, and the fact that they never explain a lot of them, they explain the ones that are plot necessary, but it's kind of cool to leave the other ones kind of ambiguous, just simply because it gives you material for something later.
In Alaska. Jones told me I was asking the wrong question. He said anything we uncovered at Arcadia would definitely be connected to the game, to 9. We needed to focus on finding that connection, rather than wonder at the delivery system of the clue.
Which is kind of interesting. The whole delivery system, it boils down to the whole read the message, don't worry about the messenger, or, here's the message, I'm just the messenger, leave me alone type thing. So yeah, plus it also gives you an out for whether or not you want to go back and explain something or not. It's just kind of cool.
So, I started looking into northern Russia. It was right around this time that 2 things happened. The first thing, I received an update from Frank and Dave over at the arcade game restoration shop about the Stargate, or Defender 2, logic board. The second, Yumiko's brother Adam called. The police had a lead.
Hello?
Hey, Adam.
How are things?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. The same.
What's going on?
Well, the police had me come in to look at some surveillance footage.
What footage?
It was security camera stuff. Do you know the FBI actually have cameras up all over Seattle?
Yeah, I read something about that.
I mean, they admit the cameras are there, but they won't say why.
See, now, that is not something let me rephrase that. This is something that I would not put past our own government. With all the stuff that Snowden revealed and stuff, I wouldn't put it past our own government to spy on us just arbitrarily, just to keep check, monitor people and stuff. I mean, it's very 1984. It's very Orwellian. But I honestly see that I can honestly believe that our government would do that. It's not necessarily a left or right or, political party affiliation. It's more of we want to stay in power and keep tabs on our servants thing. So.
Yeah, right. Creepy.
Or comforting, or useful, I suppose, depending on your point of view. I mean, they seem to help in London and Glasgow. At least that appears to be the general consensus so far.
Right, I suppose. Okay, so what did they find?
There was a guy working at a food truck who had been following Yumiko on the day she went missing.
Okay.
And they wanted to see if I knew who he was.
And did you know him?
No.
What truck?
That bright pink Thai food truck. The one up around East Pike and Broadway.
Yeah, I know that one.
I like the fact that they use something as ubiquitous as a food truck, especially in this day and age. I know where I live that we have a food truck park, which is 6 or 7 little food trucks, and you can get hamburgers, tacos, all kinds of stuff. Seafood. There's a place that does crawfish, and there's a couple, believe it or not, specialty coffee things. So with as common as food trucks have become, at least through America, I imagine at this time that these were coming out, that in a culturally rich city like Seattle, that they were kind of foreshadowing or being the beacon in the night of what was going to come across the country. I have a couple of my personal favorite food trucks in town, but that's one of those things. And I just love the idea of using that in Seattle being, or at least in my opinion, Seattle for me has always been this beacon of culture, beacon of change. And it's, I think a lot of it like San Francisco, because they're big ports and they're directly connected to the Pacific. So you got commerce coming in, whereas just about 100 miles south of, or about 125, 130 miles, we have the Port of Houston, which is it's a big port, but you really don't get any cultural exchange or anything. A lot of stuff, by the time it hits the Port of Houston and gets diluted out through Texas culture, you really don't get that growth or that exchange of culture outside of the port area. Whereas like Seattle and Frisco and stuff, you get this huge interaction. So
did the police question the guy?
No,
Why not?
because he never went back to work.
That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, suspicious, they thought. They asked the owner of the truck for information about the guy. Turns out he was using a fake ID. They said it was strange that he'd worked there for over a month and never actually tried to cash his paychecks.
Really?
Yeah. The owner of the truck checked. They never went through. Listen, I gotta run.
Okay, is there anything else you can tell me about this guy?
He was a white guy with dreadlocks.
now, sinuses. I've had sinuses the last few days, but no, the whole thing of him not cashing his checks, that's a major red flag. And I'm sure an employee or an employer, depending if you're paid monthly, weekly, or bi-weekly, somebody, an accountant or somebody, would have noticed these checks not being cashed beforehand. Or maybe it's small enough that he just took everything for granted that it would be cashed. I don't know. There are two ways you can, do this, look at it or see it. So, two avenues.
30s maybe?
Yikes.
Yeah. The security camera picks him up as he leaves the food truck. Additional cameras show coverage of him following her for a few blocks, but they lose him when Yumiko enters the library.
On Harvard Avenue?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Anything else?
The police double-checked the library, and nobody remembers seeing Yumiko or a dreadlocked white guy.
Security cameras in the library?
They show Yumiko looking at some books for a bit and then leaving.
And the dreadlock guy?
No sign of him.
Okay.
Carly,
Yeah?
maybe it's time to,
What? Give up?
No, never. But I just
What?
mean, the police can handle this.
This this is kind of the first time I listened to this. This whole exchange here kind of took me aback with the Jones character, but it does pay off later. So
You should, I don't know, get some rest. You don't sound like yourself.
I appreciate your concern.
Carly,
I mean it.
I-
Thanks, Eden. I can take care of myself.
okay. Well,
okay. That shows how much I haven't been paying attention. She was talking to Yumiko's brother and not Jones, so yeah, that's on me. That's me not paying attention. I was thinking of something else, but my hair. Might have to get it cut one day, but I don't know. So yeah, we'll just see what we go from here. Sorry about that. I messed that up.
let's make sure to talk again soon. All right?
Okay. So I went to the library. Anna, a friend of mine from high school, worked there as a supervisor.
Carly Parker. How long has it been?
I don't know, at least 2 years?
3, I think.
Really?
Yumiko's birthday at the sushi place with all the Christmas lights.
Right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry to hear about Miko. I was gonna call, but...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So, what brings you to the library?
Yumiko.
What about her?
She was here just before she disappeared.
Really?
Yeah, the police have her on a surveillance camera looking at some books.
Do you know what day of the week?
It was Thursday.
Makes sense. I don't work Thursdays.
Right, so you didn't see her.
No, I'm sorry.
Listen, I know it's a strange request, but could you tell me if Yumiko took out a book that day?
You think her taking out a book might have had something to do with her disappearance?
No, it's... Well, we had a big argument about something, and, well, if she was taking out a book to prove something to me and that somehow led to her abduction or something, I
get it.
See, I think that's a pretty decent cover story, to be honest with you.
I felt terrible lying to Anna. And if you're listening to this podcast now, Anna, I apologize. But I really felt at the time, and continue to feel, like I needed every clue I could possibly find. It turns out that Miko had checked a book out of the library that day, and Anna was able to provide the title of that book. It was called Strange Adventures in the Rag Trade, by a writer named Arnold Milne. A cursory internet search didn't yield anything on that title or the author. I'll come back to that book later.
Though, I have found in just playing real-life puzzle games and or just trying to kind of connect things in a lighthearted manner that not everything is as it looks, because you go in and you start looking at similarities between authors, then you go back and you do some digging, you find that certain authors were pretty good friends and certain authors were enemies and stuff, and it comes out in their work on how they view the work. They view these other authors. An example of this is Heinlein. Robert A. Heinlein was not a real big fan of Isaac Asimov, and in several of his books and his novel Friday being the one that jumps out real quick, he basically debunks Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. But I'm drifting off the subject, but though things do and can connect, and sometimes in ways that you don't expect or realize.
But right now, we're heading back to the arcade game restoration shop to see Frank and Dave.
It's Defender 2, all right.
That's rare, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it's worth much. I don't think anybody's gonna believe it's the real thing.
What do you think?
Well, I've seen a lot of these things.
And
I really can't see any difference between this and any of the Stargate or Defender logic boards I've restored. If it's a fake, it's perfect. I don't understand why anybody would go to all the trouble. It's not like anybody is looking for something like this. This was a build from the ground up. There's no way it was modified.
are you sure?
Positive.
Okay.
I would really love to have the intelligence to be able to do that, to be able to deconstruct something like that, like a logic board or a motherboard or anything like that, and figure out how it was built. I think that whole process is kind of cool.
You want to play it?
Hells yes. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
So, I played Stargate. Or, I suppose more accurately, I played Defender 2. I'd been dying to play it at the Magician's Place, but there was just so much going on. I was a little rusty at first, but after 2 games, it all came flooding back. I still had 3 ships left when Frank and Dave told me it was time to close the shop. I let my ships get hit and turned to leave when I saw it. I had gotten the high score. 3 letters filled the screen. WTF. And right below the letters, a 3-word question. Where's the future? Below that, the name Hazel and the graphic of a rabbit.
Now that is, I think that would weird me out. You know, the whole thing is, especially when certain things get revealed later that make this even more of a reveal. That this right now is kind of there, but the meaning of it becomes more prominent later.
Below the rabbit, there were 4 more words. Find Harley, gone hunting. I took a bunch of photos of the screen with my phone. What's this?
I have no idea.
It's not standard.
Duh.
Shit.
I asked Dave to take a look at the program itself, but he told me that type of exploration exceeded his qualifications. I asked them to hang on to the ROM until I had time to take it to the magician.
Basically saying that that's not in my pay grade. So we will see how this goes.
They said that would be fine. A search for the phrase, find Harley, gone hunting, turned up no results found. I took another look on the deep web for more information on the name Hazel connected to that phrase, but I couldn't find anything that appeared to be related. Another search, a search for the term dangerous game, resulted in numerous hits. About 40 results down was a site titled in search of the world's most dangerous game. The thing that made me click on the link was a picture.
Okay. I very seldom scroll that far on a search. That right there shows you Carly's intensity and her drive to find her friend. That she'd be willing to go through that many search results.
A photo of an old Polaroid featuring a black rabbit that had been stenciled into a sidewalk somewhere. Aside from the photo, the rest of the website was text only, which isn't all that odd on the darknet. There was nothing but a form submission box with a submit button, no additional information at all. I typed everything I could think of into the box and pressed submit. Find Harley gone hunting. Rabbits. Hazel. WTF, the works. But nothing happened. At first.
And sometimes the waiting is the worst part, especially when you're playing at this type of game, at this type of level. So, yeah.
A few minutes later, I received an email from a Gmail account. The Real Batman 28. There was nothing in the body of the message. The subject read, "What do you want?" I replied with one word, rabbits. A few seconds later, I received a reply. It was an address and a time. The location was about 20 minutes from my place. The Real Batman 28 gave me an hour to get there. I messaged Jones, but didn't receive a reply, so I called Harper and asked her to tag along.
So what the hell's going on?
It's hard to explain.
Clearly.
I'm looking for you, Miko.
I got that part. It's the whole part about the strange game and meeting some weird comic book guy in a warehouse in this part of town.
It'll be fine. You brought your taser, right?
You're fucking with me. Yeah, fine. Wait until some weirdo's wearing our skin as a coat.
We're here.
Now, I wonder if that is an Ed Gein reference or a Silence of the Lambs reference. I'm not really sure. About the whole where Terry Miles is getting his inspiration from, but still, it's there, and it's a very poignant a very interesting thing to say. Be worried about.
You're sure?
Yeah.
Great.
It was an old coffee roasting and grinding warehouse that had been converted into artist live and workspaces. I'd actually been here before, a couple of times. It was pretty cool. I'm gonna knock.
I have pepper spray.
Settle down. The door opened, and we met Batman.
The real Batman. No.
He had a kind moon-shaped face, stubble that would never qualify as a beard, and he was wearing a rare Doctor Who TARDIS t-shirt I'd never seen before. He was sucking on a lollipop and trying pretty hard to look cool. I'm sure the lollipop was an affectation he put a lot of thought into, along with the music that was playing as we entered his lair.
The lollipop thing kind of reminds me of a show that was on when I was a child called Kojak with Telly Savalas, in which he played a detective that always, instead of smoking, had a lollipop.
It was the Kinks song, Destroyer. I love the Kinks, although I do prefer their earlier stuff.
It's just right
I'm
about...
referring to him as Batman, because that's what he told us to call him. Batman.
Batman.
Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for seeing us.
What do you know about rabbits?
Well, I was going to ask you the same question.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, this is Mona.
He was renting out most of the basement. It was a huge space, filled with old mannequins and a bunch of movie props. There were movie posters all over the walls. The usual suspects, Pulp Fiction, and The Rescuers Down Under, to name a few. He pulled back a curtain at the far end of the room, dramatically, to reveal a huge bank of video monitors of various sizes and resolutions. There were more than 100 of them. They filled the entire back wall of the warehouse. Above the monitors, there was a banner that read, "We want the future we were promised, not the future we deserve. Hazel."
And it is at this point, we're going to go ahead and call this video good. I hope everyone is enjoying everything. This big make of monitors is going to be kind of cool. I like that whole concept, and I like the message. We want the future that we were promised, not the one we deserve. That's kind of cool too. So until next time, enjoy yourselves, have fun, peace.